Welcome back to We Move Through Stormy Weather, a podcast by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. My name is Ryan Storm, and I'm very excited to be here today with the one and only Dezron Douglas. We are here outside Brooklyn Steel.
Wagwan.
Thank you so much for being here, Dezron. We're making history today. First ever outdoor episode of We Move Through Stormy Weather. The weather is gorgeous here in Brooklyn.
It's a nice day in New York City.
Yes. So excited to chat with you. I've been looking forward to this for a little while now. But let's start with, this TAB tour. You guys have been really sounding amazing the past couple of weeks on the road.
Thank you.
How has it felt for you?
It's been a blast. The crowds have been great. The vibration on the bandstand has been beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like always like a family reunion anytime we get on the stage.
Sure.
It's like, oh yeah, I remember you every time.
Yeah.
That's how I approach the bandstand. Every time it's a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always beautiful.
That's awesome. And I feel like, you've kind of in your, I guess now 2.5 years playing with TAB, or 3 years at this point, you've played in a lot of different incarnations of the band.
Yeah.
And I feel like, at this point, this tour especially, you've now been playing just as the quartet for close to a year now. Is there like is there a sense of comfort with this specific lineup and how the jams are going? Now that you've been, this is like, multiple tours of this lineup?
Well, I think all the music has been a product of the situation.
Sure.
Right? So in the beginning, I was the new guy.
Yep.
I'm still the new guy. But in the beginning, it was, okay, let me dip my feet in the water.
Yep.
And get the temperature and see what's happening with that. And that was that situation. And of course, that situation unfolded from a massive group to a small group.
Yeah.
With Fishman. And that period was that period. The next time we got together was that period. The next time we got together was that period.
Sure.
And the periods have been different. They've been like 2-3 months apart. So it's always, I take that literally in every situation, whether I play with the band on Monday, if I'm with that same group, or someone in that same group, different on Tuesday, it's a different situation.
Right.
So I feel like as a unit, regardless of pieces, with a esteemed and tried and true veteran of his space,
Yep.
Leading the crew, we've done a valiant job of creating something every time we get together. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that 2021 tour, your first tour with the band. You're like, getting your feet wet a little bit, dipping your toes in, and then half the band gets COVID. Suddenly, you're not just, you're playing the same songs, but now suddenly you're jamming for 25, 30, 35 minutes. Like, talk about, trial by fire. How was that experience for you,
Well,
like the first couple of shows with Fishman when suddenly you're
playing
playing for half an hour?
For one, that experience to me was wrapped all into one.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping into a giant space that Tony left.
Yep.
And knowing that the audiences are going to be, anticipating hearing Tony.
Right.
Period. That's what they're used to. So you hear something different. I'm giving them something different. I did my absolute best to keep the ship going as planned. That was my mindset throughout the whole period. Although circumstances happened before that tour started, I went into it the same place. This was my first dance. It was a dance. I had no clue if I was going to do it again.
Sure.
I was just enjoying the moment for what it was. I've been in situations that have fell apart, on the gig.
Yeah.
And this, to me, that was no different. It was just, okay, what are we going to do?
Right. The show must go on.
Exactly. What are we going to do? And at first, when it broke down with just the band and no horns, that was a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Fishman came, it was a completely different vibe, just off of the circumstances. It's like, oh man, I'm used to playing these songs with Russ.
Yeah.
Fishman, I love his playing. He's a phenomenal musician. He plays these songs, but I'm used to playing these songs with Russ. So it was just like, okay, let me see what's gonna happen. You know, John takes a step, I take a step, I take a step, John takes a step. Now we're walking.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally what it was. And the jams went deeper. Those 4 gigs, I feel like, because we were all like, let's see where we can go.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally, you know, product of the circumstance.
Sure. That's amazing. Amazing to hear. And then, you know, then you had the shows back with the full band with the horns for a while, and then you did last year those trio shows with Fishman out in Denver, which I was at. Those shows were incredible.
That was wild.
Yeah.
That was wild.
I'm curious your thoughts on that run, because you also, you know, that was kind of your first batch of playing brand new songs that people hadn't heard before. You know, you're not filling a Tony bass line from years ago. Like, you got to, you know, make your mark on those. How was that?
So that was beautiful, because that was the unknown. Anytime you're dealing with the unknown, that's afforded to all of us. So when everyone in the space is afforded the unknown, then who knows what's going to happen. It can only be positive if everybody's minds are in the right place.
Sure.
Like the people giving and the people accepting, or receiving and giving back. That was wild, because by then I had, you know, me and Fishman had struck a groove.
Yep.
And, you know, we're birthday twins, so we were talking, and the camaraderie off the stage translated to the bandstand seamlessly. And it was just another conversation. Literally, when we got to the stage, we were continuing the conversations we were having off the stage. So
right.
That was wild. I really enjoyed. Within the context of new music, you know, that was just but I enjoyed the conversations every day. Every day it was like something new. You know?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That was wild. I really enjoyed the trio.
Awesome. And as somebody, you know, who doesn't come from a jam band background, you know, it's kind of a completely different world from other kinds of music, obviously. Was there something about, you know, starting to play with Tab, like whether it was about the audience or the way that the music, like the nature of the improvisation and every show being different, like was there anything about that really impacted you?
For me, really, I was never in a real jam band, but I was familiar with the scene. Right. Being around it, working with Jen and Russ and Ray and Nick Casarino and Nikki Glaspie, you know, in different festivals and encountering different musicians and hanging with the musicians in Burlington. You know, I'm from Hartford, Connecticut. When we were going up to Burlington, that was the first thing. When I got up there, it was a whole completely different scene. I was exposed to that scene early on up there. Not being in the band, but checking out a bunch of bands. And anyway, I also feel like in music in general, there should be there's really no genre, you know. Yes, this might be called a jam band scene. I'm from I have steeped my feet deep in a scene of jazz, which is actually African American classical music. Jazz is what they decided to call it. You know, if you look up jazz, the real pronunciation is kind of derogatory. J-A-Z. That's the real J-A-S. Actually, it's French. So anyway, I grew up playing in the church. Spirit's always first for me. Yep. It doesn't matter what we're playing. If I can tap into the culture, then I can tap into the language. Yeah. And every music you listen to, from music all over the world, you know, something could be mixed metered. You know, the music coming out of Greece is incredible. The music coming out of Turkey is incredible. The music coming out of New Zealand is incredible. You know, the music coming out of different parts of Haiti, the music coming out of St. Vincent, you know, the Mento in Jamaica. Sure. You know, it's like the if you can tap into the culture, you know, for years I played in a Puerto Rican bomba band, and I had to learn the difference between Puerto Rican, Dominican music, Chilean music, you know, music from Venezuela. Yeah, the claves are all different, but if you can tap into the culture, you can make people think that you're from there. And that's what we strive for as musicians, or we should strive for, period.
That's amazing. Another thing that's kind of changed over time, your role in TAB, is vocally. You know, obviously, you're not doing as much singing when Jen and Natalie are in the band. And I feel like at first, you know, even that fall 2021 tour, like, you weren't really singing as much even after they were off the tour. And now you're like, you know, you're right in there on pretty much all the songs. How's that felt for you?
Well, for me, you know, I grew up singing with my brothers in church.
Yep.
And up until this point in my life, you know, the only time I was really singing was in church with my dad and my brothers. And Trey is actually the first to get me out the house, as we would say, vocally. And the only reason why I'm doing it is because there's a need for it.
Right.
And if I can, you know, anything I can do to help and get us to where we need to be as a band, I'm willing to do. So
amazing.
It's you know, it's been, you know, I'm not trying to be Luther Vandross or you know, Darius Rucker.
Sure, but it sounds great.
You know, I'm Dezron.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to be.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So whatever that is, we'll see what happens. You dig?
Has there been a favorite song of yours on this tour, let's say, that you guys have been playing?
There's been a few. I really like that song, All Pretending.
Yeah.
I've always liked Halfway Home. That's probably by far my
Yes.
favorite. That song
I love that
came
tune.
into my life.
Doesn't get played
at a certain
enough.
period when it kind of, you know, I kind of needed
Sure.
to hear it. So I really love that song. I also really like Poppy Head, you know, for some reason. Poppy Head's got a vibe. You know, Trey's a great songwriter. Like, you know, he's up there just as far as, like, you know, the genius behind someone that could, you know, write a song.
Yeah.
You know, the brother can really write.
Yes.
So it's been, you know, there's favorites.
Sure.
But they change within the week. Because there might be a song, you know, just as a band, we got to play Twist. I don't remember what night that was, but we played Twist, and then for 2 days in the bus, we were revisiting that vibe, like, yeah. And I'm like, damn, I like this song again. I liked it originally, but okay, now I like this song again. It's
yeah,
like,
there's certain
damn,
performances that will
exactly.
like really
certain vibes
click.
you feel from that.
Sure.
You know? I've played a blues, at least, you know, this might be a bold statement, but I can honestly say, you know, we can, if God is watching, you know, I've played a blues at least 50,000 times.
Right.
At least 50,000, and that's a low number. I've played the blues at least 50,000 times. That blues has been different all 50,000 times.
Right.
You know, and I've done the shuffles. Like my first tours with a blues band, I know the difference between South Side Chicago shuffle and North Side Chicago shuffle. East, you know, the Texas shuffle. You know, it's like it's broken down. So I kind of lost track of what I was.
We're talking about favorite songs on the tour. Yeah.
So that being said, there are songs that are similar.
Yeah.
That have similar movements, but like a great songwriter, Trey has the power of making the same progression feel different.
Sure.
Right. So all of a sudden, when it feels different, you start hearing different things. So I have favorites that change, like the weather. And
awesome.
Just because something's not a favorite today doesn't mean it won't be a favorite tomorrow.
Sure, absolutely.
There are songs like Sweet Dreams Melinda. I've probably made the same mistake on that song like at least 3 times, documented.
Sure.
With the archive, you know. And that song's been a thorn in my side, so I'm always like, you know, it's just that one part. It's like, so we've gone over it a couple times. If we play it again, hopefully you know, the
get it,
creator give me a chance to not, it's not that I don't know it.
Right.
It always catches me
Sometimes,
off guard, you know.
Right. Exactly. You mentioned, you know, kind of approaching, you know, the Tony bass lines in a specific way, you know, trying to pay homage to him, you know, coming in right after he passed. When you're learning a Fish song, something like the MoMA dance, for example, that wasn't played by Tab previously. How do you approach learning those bass lines? Like, are you going for an emulation of what Mike is doing on the Fish version, or?
So when I'm learning a song, however that song's given to me, that's how I'm learning it, right? So I have to start there. So I've checked out the way Mike plays a lot of the tunes that Tab plays, and I've checked out a lot of everything Tony's played. And all I can do is try to find what I can do to keep that vibe there. Of course, there's some classic lines that you just shouldn't change.
Sure.
And then at the same token, Trey will look at me and be like, play what you want to play.
Right.
And that being said, I always have somewhere to start. Starting with Tony, with Mike on these songs. It's like, you can't get any better than that as a starting position with this music.
Amazing. So before we wrap up, outside of Tab, let everyone know what are some other bands you're in, projects you've got going on. Where can people catch you outside of this?
Well, I have my quartet. We're working on a new record, and we got a gig on June 30th in Damrosch Park for the Jazz at Jaffe Drive Summer in the City Lincoln Center series. And I still frequently work with the great Louis Hayes. Has a record coming out this is maybe his 5th record that I produced, 5th or 6th record. It's coming out really soon. I've been working a lot with the great Billy Harper. I have a long-standing relationship with Robbie Coltrane. We'll be at Birdland the end of June. I'm going to be in Europe again. I haven't done a European tour in a while, but I'll be in Europe in July with Jonathan Blake. 4-city run, 4-country run, cities in Europe.
Yes.
You can't say 4-city run because you got to go through immigration every time you get to that city. And I'll also be at Newport with Jonathan. Newport's a great jazz festival. I always look forward to that. That's pretty much all of my, of course there's more. There's a lot more work. I'm producing records.
Yep. Well, people can follow you on social media. Keep up, see where you're playing.
Yeah. See what's happening. Of course, still working with Jen when I can. And thank you, Ryan.
Well, awesome, Dezron. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you for dancing.
It's been an absolute
pleasure.
dancing
with
us.
Of course, man. That's what we strive to do.
Of course, it's been an amazing tour. Looking forward to the next couple of nights. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of We Move Through Stormy Weather. Have a phenomenal day, and we will see you next time.